Hello everybody, my name is Aud and welcome back to the Aud Narrations channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we're reading a story titled Emotional Affair versus Cheating. My wife recently betrayed me with her male colleague and calling it a boundary crossed. I feel betrayed. As always, if you appreciate these videos and want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button, that way you won't miss the latest upload. Alrighty, let's make a start. The post reads, well, it's a TLDR, but my wife has been sharing personal snaps and forming an emotional connection with a male colleague. I feel betrayed and I'm unsure how to navigate this situation. The post reads, hello Reddit. I'm seeking advice on a troubling situation regarding my marriage. My wife, 31 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 7 years and have a young son together. Recently, she started a new remote job that has significantly changed her availability and focus on our family. Initially, she would take breaks to spend time with us, but as her work demands increased, she became more engrossed in her tasks, often neglecting family time. I noticed she was spending long hours working closely with one male colleague, which began to raise red flags for me. Things took a turn when I discovered she started sharing personal snaps with him. For instance, he would request full standing body pose pictures from her, and she would send them with captions like, "Hey, no mirror, but here you go." While the photos weren't explicit, and playful comments like, "Somebody help me with my hair," the effort she put into sending them felt overly familiar. Yeah, that is weird. When I confronted her about my concerns, she admitted to developing an emotional connection with this colleague, but insisted it was just a boundary crossed and not cheating. Oh, don't be silly. After a heated discussion, she acknowledged that her actions were wrong, but she doesn't seem to fully grasp the depth of my pain. I feel torn between wanting to understand her perspective and needing reassurance about my feelings. Here are some specific questions for you. Number 1, how do you define emotional cheating versus simply crossing boundaries? Number 2, what are your thoughts on sharing personal snaps and flirting with someone outside of a committed relationship? And number 3, is it possible for a relationship to recover from this situation, or is trust irreparably broken? I'm at a crossroads and I'd appreciate any insights or advice on how to handle this situation. Thank you for taking the time to read my post. It's a tricky one, I think, in this situation. Well, I don't know, maybe it's not, but I mean, she's definitely having an emotional affair, easily. Yes, it's a boundary crossed, but the boundary wouldn't be crossed if it wasn't an emotional affair. Yes, it's not sexual, though flirty comments could easily lead down that line. It's a slippery slope. Personally, if it were me, I would ask my wife not to work with this person, and you don't really want to work with him anymore because it's affecting family life and so on, maybe. But that's probably what I would ask her to do, just for my own reassurance. And if she does that, fantastic, cool, things go back to normal, happy days. Assuming there's no more Snapchats and so on. But if not, then that would probably start raising red flags about there's more going on than meets the eye. Those are my initial thoughts. Sorry to interrupt the video, but since the new year, I've set myself a target of hitting 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It would really help out the channel if you hit the subscribe button for me. Thank you in advance. Someone else left a comment saying, no committed spouse should be on Snapchat, sending anything to anyone. Cheating is cheating no matter how you slice it. She was so busy, huh? But had the time to send another man herself in her drawers whilst neglecting her family? Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. And still had the gall to say that she had an emotional connection? Sad face. Or like rolling eyes emoji. Ugh. It's very hard to trust that person after betrayal. Whether it be emotional or physical cheating, both are a huge middle finger to the relationship. Only you know what type of disrespectful shit you will want to put up with. Very true. Someone replied saying, yeah, her excuse is mind-numbing. First time I heard that one in plain English. It's not cheating, it's just a boundary crossed. Someone replied saying, that's what you call delusions of grandeur from a narcissistic piece of shit. The more I hear these stories, the more nothing ceases to amaze me. Someone else replied to the original comment saying, you're so right. Her mental gymnastics to avoid having to admit that she had an emotional affair are mind-numbing. Indeed. Someone else left a comment saying, I hate to say it, but this is just the beginning of your marriage problems. The biggest red flag is her lack of concern for how you, her husband, feels. Boundaries are not being enforced because she personally did not enforce them. In what world is it okay for a man and a work colleague at that to ask for full body pictures? What on earth would he need those for? I have an idea, and it's not good. She's already in an emotional affair, and if they were alone, it almost certainly got physical. You do not know the entire story. Someone else replied saying, it isn't just her. Doesn't sound like he's enforcing any boundaries either. I'm assuming they mean he, the colleague. Someone else left a comment answering the 3 questions. So, number 1, crossing the line is an inappropriate comment. She's having an inappropriate conversation. The time she spends with her co-worker talking about non-work matters is the time that she should be yours and your son's. She's in an emotional affair, and that is cheating. Number 2, it is cheating. Pretty clear. Number 3, some couples can do it. Very few, but she doesn't even notice your pain and she has no remorse. Reconciliation won't happen until you're both on the same page. And she definitely isn't. Someone replied, answer to 3. You would potentially have big trouble for the rest of your life. She won't change and will only be holding herself from doing the same thing again. Answer to 2. I think it is cheating. Indeed. Someone else left a comment answering the 3 questions, quoting, how do you find emotional cheating versus simply crossing boundaries? And they write, crossing an emotional boundary is always cheating. She's playing a game of semantics to downplay her actions. It is a matter for you to decide how far she crossed and if she'll face any consequences. A good rule of thumb is if your partner is prioritizing time with the person to the detriment of your relationship, which absolutely happened in your case, you also probably don't know everything yet, because you only know what you found out and probably haven't found everything. Indeed. They answer question 2, which is, what are your thoughts on sharing personal snaps and flirting with someone outside a committed relationship? And they write, this is way over the line, boundary-wise, and definitely pushes your case into cheating. Ask her if she'll be okay with you flirting with someone requesting similar photos. I bet if the situation is reversed, she would consider it cheating. Here's a relationship rule to live by. If you say or do something you wouldn't if your partner is standing next to you, you're probably doing something inappropriate to some degree, unless it's something like talking about planning a surprise party for you. Of course, there are other exceptions, but it's a solid measuring stick. Definitely. They answer question 3 by quoting, is it possible for a relationship to recover from this situation, or is trust irreparably broken? And they write, yes, but it is difficult, and chances are that both of you will end up miserable because you won't trust her, and it's emotionally difficult to police someone's actions to try and feel comfortable, and it's important to catch all the ways that she could cheat. She will get tired of you policing her and start calling you controlling or being offended that you don't trust her. They have an extra section called what would need to happen, and they write, number 1, she must admit that it was cheating and actually try to understand how this has affected you emotionally and mentally. She must accept full responsibility and not blame you in any way. Right now she sounds like she's sorry and annoyed she got caught, but not remorseful at betraying you in your marriage. Number 2, she must go full non-contact with him, which means finding a new job and blocking all the ways they could communicate. This is a mandatory step, and don't accept a promise of they won't cross the line again. That means she's minimizing her affair and not serious about rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust is her responsibility, and she should bend over backwards to do everything she needs to for as long as it takes. Number 3, she must agree to marriage counseling and individual counseling. Number 4, she must agree to 100% digital transparency, meaning you have full access to her devices and accounts, and she cannot delete anything before you see it. I'm sorry that you're going through this because you deserve better. And know if you try to reconcile, it will take 3 to 5 years minimum before some sort of trust is re-established. It's a long, painful road ahead of you, no matter what you choose, and it's all her fault because she made intentional choices to betray you. Oh, definitely. That's a really good comment. Someone else left a comment saying, OP, emotional cheating can be some of the hardest to pull them out of. She's going to have to change jobs, or this will escalate and she'll be sleeping with him and ready to leave you. Find who the guy is, and if he's married, call his wife and tell her you're not happy on your end, and there are things going on, and I want her to be engaged in breaking it from her end too. You need to start by asking your wife how she's going to break this off, and make her start by deleting him off all non-work related social media. No Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, nothing. Tell her you reserve the right to ask for her phone at any time if you find her engaging with him on anything other than work email. You will kick her out and file for divorce. Tell her the first sign you see of her getting secretive or ignoring family time, you will immediately pick up the phone and call her parents and her boss with no hesitation. You can't play with this. Him asking for pictures is exactly the start of him moving towards a physical affair. You've got to stop this now. Someone replied, saying, there are far too many stories of cheaters that remain at their job after choosing to cheat with a coworker. Cheating is already a betrayal that relatively few couples can survive. If the cheater doesn't understand what they did is a crisis that staying at the job exacerbates tremendously, then there shouldn't even be a reconciliation attempt. Quitting a job where you choose to cheat with a coworker is an absolute necessity for reconciliation attempt to even be considered. Far too many marriages fail because of cheating and not taking the first most important step of removing yourself from the situation in which you made that choice is an absolute must. Someone else left a comment saying, as usual with cheaters, she's using stupid arguments to derail and confuse you, and you are letting her do it, in spades. This is where push comes to shove, and right now she's walking all over you with her bullshit. So to answer your questions, number 1, boundaries are your personal requirements that should not be crossed. That is the rule for the marriage to continue. Boundaries are placed usually well before emotional cheating can start, such as recognizing too many personal interactions with another person, or the other decision that puts you beneath the affair partner. There is no actual guide for this, but that's not necessary. It is whatever makes you uncomfortable, and she must respect that and cannot argue that away. Emotional cheating is exactly that. There is an emotional connection to the other person. She's admitted to it, so her statement, "it was just a boundary crossed and not cheating," is a non sequitur. Emotional cheating means the safe boundary was crossed long ago. Number 2, personal snaps. Any closed relationship should not have personal stuff sent to a third party. If you're trying to find a wiggle room, forget it. This is a no-no. This means she has put your relationship with her below that of the affair partner. It's nothing less than an insult. Number 3, your current relationship is already broken. Accept this. The question is, do you wish to form a new relationship, and under what conditions would that work? The problem for you is she is defending the cheating and making excuses, which means you and your relationship with her are less important than her needs. Ergo, you let her get away with this and it'll happen again, now or later. The problem is, why would you want to be her policeman to make sure she's towing the line in the future? And this brings up another major red flag. When something like this happens, the cheater normally is already looking for alternatives or has found one and is on the way out. You have no control over this decision. You have to understand the number of years you were together means absolutely nothing to her if she feels she can get a better deal elsewhere. This is where her process is right now. The question is when, much more than if, she will decide to leave. Her behavior shows this clearly, so she may be staying until she can monkey branch. Do yourself a favor and get some good professional help for yourself. If you think this is still salvageable, then a marriage counselor may help. However, she may do all the right things to buy time and still leave when she's ready, promises notwithstanding. At the end of the day, you have to allow for all possible outcomes and plan your exit strategy. This includes talking to a lawyer to see what your options are, and most importantly, protecting your child and your assets. Marriage is also synonymous with divorce. You do not want to be caught flat-footed when and if this happens. I can tell you she's very likely already talked to a lawyer and knows where she stands right now. On a more personal note, you need to decide how much your self-respect is worth. Right now it's in the trash. To get it back, you need to grow a spine and say what you mean. Enforce boundaries, cut all communication with this guy. This may mean getting another job, but so what? Is the marriage not important enough for that? Do not hope or let your decisions be guided by promises and maybes. She needs to cut the bullshit on your terms. You're not showing her that her actions have consequences. Or else there's no point to all of this, and you might as well file right now. Good luck. Brutal. I think the comments pretty much nail this, I would say. Which is just, yes, to answer the 3 questions. Defining emotional cheating versus simply a boundary crossed. The boundary crossing is a sign that the emotional affair has already happened, in my opinion. Number 2, what are your thoughts on sharing personal snaps and flirting with someone outside a committed relationship? Should never happen. The fact that it happens suggests number 1 is already cheating. Number 3, is it possible for a relationship to recover from this situation, or is trust irreparably broken? The trust is definitely broken. It can be repaired, but it would take a long time. So it is possible, but probably not very probable. But yeah, what do you think OP should do? What would you do in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed these videos and want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. That way you won't miss the latest upload. Alrighty, we'll have to finish there for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.